Hey, Tracy here with One Blessed Step, and today I'm going to give you an update on my budget challenge this year, and I'm going to share with you exactly what it costs to live in an RV in Arizona. So if that is something that is interesting to you, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and hopefully this will encourage you. This is something you might want to be looking at. Okay, so the last time we talked, and that was at the beginning of the year, I am doing a Social Security challenge. So what does that mean? That means that me and my husband are trying to live on what we would get from Social Security when we retire. And the number that we chose was the average Social Security. He'll get more than I will. I'll get less than that number. So kind of works out to see if we can actually live on the average Social Security check. So he'll get a check, I'll get a check. And hopefully that number will be close to the average Social Security check. So that's $3,952 for both of us. So total. So I wanted to know, can I live on Social Security if I stay in my RV? So let's see what it costs to live in the RV this month. So the first thing we have is property taxes. Now this land is paid for and my RV is paid for. So I don't have to worry about making payments there. However, I do have property taxes, and because I live in an RV, my property taxes are really low. They're only $600 a year, and so I only pay $50 a month for the property taxes. So that is actually really good. And what I do is I just make a little account, and every month I put $50 into it. And then when the bill comes, I can just pay it all. So that's what you're seeing here, is just that $50 deposit into that account. Now I haven't actually made the payment because it's not due yet. But once the payment is due, I will make the money out of that account. I'll make the withdrawal out of that account. So just from a budget perspective, I budgeted $50. I put $50 aside for it. My difference is $0. The next thing was electricity. And I would say my budget was almost spot on this. So electricity, I budgeted $100 and it came in at $103.25. So I would say that's pretty spot on. It was obviously minus $3.25, but when you're trying to figure out electricity, I think that was pretty close. One thing that I didn't consider was our propane usage. Now, we don't actually use propane in our lands, although it does run on propane for heat, but because we're connected to electricity, we don't really run the propane heat. We run electric heaters. So I've got a fireplace and I have an electric heater that I run, and that just uses the electricity, so I don't have to worry about doing propane. However, I do have a propane fireplace and a propane heater outside that I love to use when it's really, really cold outside and I want to see the beautiful starry skies that are here. So that propane, we actually emptied our last tank, and I didn't know we needed 5 to be filled. And so we filled up 5 propane tanks. It was $81.90 that I had not anticipated. So next month, there will not be a propane bill, but I might want to start allocating some money to that if I'm going to continue to use propane in the way that I'm using it. Generally, we just use one of those, 5-gallon tanks or 20-pound tanks, whatever you call them. We usually only use one of those a month, but because we have been here for a while, we just hadn't gone back to get those filled. And so I needed to make that payment. So that was $81.90. The next thing is internet. We use Starlink. It was $165. We are considering getting residential Starlink here, which would then reduce that cost by about $45 a month. So, but it would have an upfront cost as well. So maybe that's what we can think about in terms of having to save up for something like that. The next thing we have is water. The water bill I anticipated was $50. It came in at $14.95. So I was way off on water. Many of you guys know I do like to take my showers at the gym since I'm kind of gross at the gym, and that's just easy for me to just kind of clean up there. So I don't use a lot of water here. Mostly the water that we use here is for, washing the dogs water, drinking water, and cleaning dishes and things like that. So we don't use a lot of water here. My bill was only $14.95. So we're positive $35.05 this month on that budget. The next thing was trash. We pay $25 a month. That bill came in at $25. So we had $0 difference from there. The next thing is cell phone coverage. We actually switched to Visible by Verizon this year, so we pay a flat fee of $25 per phone per month. And so for 2 phones, that was $50, and no difference there. So groceries was awesome because I budgeted $700 because if you remember in our last video, I was like, I want healthy food. I don't want to, sacrifice there. I want whatever I want, right? So good news is even though I wanted whatever I wanted, we still came in at $548 for groceries, leaving us $152 extra, which is wonderful. That makes me so happy. The next thing is restaurants. I thought we'd go out a little bit more because we were doing some traveling. If you had a chance to see the video from Quartzsite, we went there and spent a few days there, and that was wonderful. We had such a wonderful time. And our restaurant budget was $200, and we actually only spent $91. And so the difference is an ability to save $109 in that space. The next one is homeowners insurance. That's $42. And our homeowners insurance, that's paid again. We pay that up front every year and to get a good discount. And so I just take that money and put it in a side account. So that $42 went into a side account and the difference is $0. Car insurance as well. We have car insurance that's going to be $100 a month. That will go up. We have some changes that are going on in our life that necessitate another vehicle. So that's going to be a problem. Car insurance is definitely going up for us. But for right now, that car insurance only went up $100. When it was only $100 and it's still the same. So we're just putting that money aside for when we get a new vehicle and then have to pay an increase in insurance, unfortunately. And also you have to think about how are you going to get that new vehicle. So yeah, if I'm just working on Social Security, the chances of me getting a vehicle on Social Security may not happen, but we'll talk about that in a bit. The next thing is gas. So gas was budgeted at $280. Budgeted at $300. It came in at $280. So I was positive 20. Car maintenance, my vehicle's new. I didn't have any car maintenance due, although I will have car maintenance due next month, and that will be an oil change. So probably what I should do here is just put that aside. So make sure I have that in my budget for next month. In that way, I can roll that over. All right, so the next thing is my medical insurance. So we do have medical insurance, and that came in at about $600 and a month. And so, yeah, that would be $0. There's no difference. It's expensive for insurance. We have pretty decent coverage. The next one is prescriptions. Now, I don't know. I've in terms of my medical insurance, my understanding is that if I want to keep the same medical insurance, some of you guys are like, well, what about Medicare? Yes, I could do that. And maybe it will be cheaper. I'm not really sure. But my understanding is that I can keep my current insurance and rate. And then I can, when we retire. So my estimate is $600 on that. And that's moving what we pay now into the future. So we'll see. Medical prescriptions, we actually were high on that this month because Lonnie needed glasses. So we went ahead and purchased those glasses from Zenni for him. And that just made our budget go negative $149 in that space. Good news, we actually didn't have to see a doctor this month. So we had no medical copays and we're positive on that $100. So I can actually make that one green. I try to make the ones green if it's positive. Okay. Household and personal items. Yeah, for this one, we actually needed to get an RV hose that's heated because it's been freezing a lot here lately. And so we bought an RV hose that you plug in and it thaws out the water. So that was $80.64. So the difference is $19.36. The next one was entertainment. So I thought we would do more fun stuff this month. Turns out, yeah, we didn't. That's okay. It was $33 is what we spent, and that was just Netflix and a Kindle subscription. So we actually ended up positive $67. Now, here's where it kind of got a little bit out of control. The pets, our dogs, we generally make their own food, but unfortunately, I don't know if you know this, but salmon, canned salmon, there's a shortage. And trying to find it at the Walmart where it's cheapest has been absolutely difficult for us. So we've had to actually adjust our food a little bit. And we ended up going to Costco and buying like a case of salmon. But still, and having to outlay that much money in advance, because Tank actually can't have beef, he can't have chicken, he can only have really salmon, or he gets really bad rashes and his hair starts falling out. So we found that out when we tried to use the farmer's dog, and they were such an amazing company, by the way. So if you ever want to do work with them, they were amazing. I highly recommend them. But unfortunately for Tank, it made his hair fall out. So we switched him back to salmon, and now we are, if the shortage continues, we are currently giving him half homemade food, half salmon kibble. And if the shortage continues, we may have to move him only to kibble. And that is just what's going to have to happen if there's a shortage. So we're trying to get ahead of it so that he can have, his delicious homemade and healthy food that we make for him. But unfortunately, it did necessitate us spending a little extra money at the Costco on salmon. So we were minus $88 on the dogs this month. So we budgeted $400. We actually spent almost close to $500. Pets are expensive. I honestly, if I was really retired, I would really consider being a foster mom of a pet, so I wouldn't have to worry about the medical stuff, or not having a pet at all, or choosing a pet that was a lot cheaper than 2 English bulldogs. Because pets are expensive, and this is so eye-opening for me. And I don't know if it's eye-opening for you, but let me know in the comments if you have animals, what they run you a month, because these animals run us thousands of dollars a year, and we love them, and they're our babies, and obviously I want to spend the money on them that I need to, but it's a lot. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do moving forward in the future. I definitely, if I was going to live on Social Security, I really would have to think that number over and, look to getting maybe a cat. I don't know. It just seems like I would actually probably just do the fostering, because then I could, foster someone else's pet and I wouldn't have to worry about medical insurance and stuff like that. I don't know. Let me know what you think. And the next one is clothes. I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't hit the $100 number here. So I spent $68. Thank you, Walmart. Walmart has some really nice clothes. I got the cutest Hello Kitty sweats there for like $20. So I spent $68. So saved $32 on that budget item. Gifts. So I had budgeted $100. I actually spent $36.90. So I cleared $63.10 on gifts. Charity. I put aside $395 into that bucket. I always have a bucket at the end of the year. I do a big give to mostly organizations that provide Bibles to people across the world, as well as food banks. Now, between you and me, because I put this money aside, but my giving is based on my actual income, which is actually slightly higher than the Social Security number here. So my giving will be actually higher than this number, but this is the number I put into that fund when we talk about funds. All right, the next thing is the gym. So gym was $75, so I broke even there. And then emergency fund, I haven't allocated anything to the emergency fund, so we'll kind of work through that. But all to say, the total, so I had budgeted $3,952, and I actually spent $3,601.64. So I actually was positive on my budget of $350, even with having to buy the glasses that I didn't plan to buy and the propane that I didn't plan to buy. So I think really helping me was the fact I didn't have to go see a doctor And I really did well on eating out and groceries. So what do we do with this number? That's the thing, right? So we have to think that through. So we had $39.52 budgeted, but we only spent $3,601. That left us a savings of $350.36. So what I need to do is go, okay, well, am I going to put some of this money in the emergency fund like I had planned? And I think the answer should be yes. So I'm going to go ahead and put that $75 in the emergency fund, and that's going to help out if something goes wrong in the RV or something. I need to go get propane, or something breaks down, or a hose breaks or whatever. I'm going to have that $75 available to use for an emergency. However, I also have $275 that I can allocate to something. So that could be like a car, that could be a lot of things, right? So what I will do now is just kind of talk to you about how I run the numbers moving forward. So what I do then is I take all of my like money that I'm putting into different accounts, and I allocate that so I actually have it. So what I do is, I'll put here, and I'll put, total savings. And what I'll do is for my property taxes, I'll put $50 here because I'm saving that $50 and that's available for property tax. Okay. None of these other numbers really have, they're savings, but they're not ones that I have an account for. So let's see where else I would put. My homeowner's insurance has to be paid, so I put that. I have $40 for that. My car insurance, I'm going to have $100 for that. And so next month, I'm going to have, this is my total savings. Next month, whenever I come back, my property taxes, I'm going to up to hopefully another $50. And so that will be $100 next month. And then maybe homeowner's insurance would be $84. So when that bill finally comes, I know how much money I have in my savings account so that I can pay that bill, and it doesn't impact my budget because it's already impacting my budget today. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, do the budget that works best for you. This is just how I roll my budget and just kind of keep track of all the expenses, especially if they only come maybe once or twice a year. So I have that in savings. I have car insurance in savings. Let's see what other things I have for savings. Gift and charity is going to be in a bucket to give at the end of the year. And you can do this monthly if you want to. I just like to do a big bucket at the end of the year. And then my emergency fund is going to have $75. Now, that means I do have another $275 for, something in the future for savings. So I'm going to insert a row here, and I'm just going to put savings here. And then what I'll do is just whatever the savings is for this month, I'm going to put it there. So 275.36 is my savings. So what can savings be used for? Well, you can use that for your Christmas gifts. I know some of you guys in my last video were like, I want a Christmas item in there. The reason why I don't actually use a Christmas item in there is because I have a lot of points when I use these credit cards to buy things. And so I'll often get credit cards, or not credit cards, but gift cards. I'll often get like discounts right off the bat in terms of cash back or whatever. And that is like Christmas to me. But if I didn't have that, like I also use Gas Buddy for cash back. So I know I have $20 there. I use Ibotta. I think I have $20 in that account. Of course, I have my Discover gift cards, and so there's some cash back in there. So whatever you do to plan for Christmas, totally awesome. Do it. For me, I just have some of this like cash back stuff that just kind of works out where Christmas doesn't really cost a lot. But if I didn't, then I would have this savings right here. So that $275, that could be allocated to Christmas. It could be allocated to birthday gifts. It could be allocated to fun vacations. It could be allocated to a lot of things. So when you are living under the average Social Security number, income, you don't actually get a lot. This is it. So if you have to buy a car, then you better save up a few months of this $275. That's all I'm saying. It's like you have to kind of figure things out. But the good news is that I can actually live in that number as long as I don't have a major expense. So what does that tell me? Well, that does tell me that I do need to have some savings before I retire for sure. For things like if I need to get a car, things like big things, like what if I need to replace my RV? What if I need to, what if I want to upgrade my RV? Well, then I need to really start saving some money for things like that and having not only just Social Security, but an additional amount of income that I can use for things like that. So me and Lonnie are going to be working really hard to kind of beef up some savings as we prepare over the next, decade before we consider retiring. So moving forward, the next thing I'm going to do is plan my February budget. So I'm going to take my budget, the same budget that I have now, and I'm just going to move it over here, and I'm just going to call this the February budget. And then what I do is I look at what actually happened in January and do I need to adjust my budget anywhere. So property taxes, I don't need to budget. Electricity, I think I'm going to keep that at 100 because, just because I may be here or may not be here using that electricity. And it was so spot on. Propane, I'm not going to budget anything for propane because I'm definitely not buying it in February. Internet, I'm going to keep at 165, although I would like to consider Starlink, and that would be cheaper. And if I do decide to use Starlink, then I'm going to take this 275, and that's what I'll use to buy the Starlink. And then my number here will decrease to 120 instead of 165. So that might be the purchase I make with that extra money to save on internet. Water. I was so low on water that I'm thinking 15 is close. So I'm going to go with 20. I could go with 15, but I'm going to go with 20 just in case. Just in case I use a little extra water. Trash is 25. Cell phone is 50. Groceries, I'm going to keep that at 700. And then restaurants, I'm going to keep at 200. Homeowners insurance, the same. Car insurance, the same. Although I'm pretty sure I'm going to need a new car. There's some things going on, guys, that I will tell you about in the future. But right now, we're just going to keep on keeping on where we are. Gas, 300, I think is fair. Actually, I think gas might be more. So I took down my water bill. So based on the way things are going this month, I think I might actually do more for gas. So I'm going to do $330. That $30 I took from the water bill, I'm going to just throw into the gas budget because I'm pretty sure I'm going to hit $330. If not more. I've got a lot of errands to run this month. A lot of errands to run. Car maintenance, 25. I don't think I will have car. Oh yeah, I will, because I'll have the oil change. So how much is an oil change these days? $20, $25? I don't know. Maybe I'll do the oil change myself. Okay, maybe I'll make Lonnie do it. Anyways, medical insurance, 600 is the same. Prescriptions, I'm going to keep at 100. Copays, I'm just going to keep that at 100. And if I don't see a doctor, it's great. Like, it's a good day. I'll just keep that 100 later. Household items, I don't think I need this budget at 100. But since I'm running positive anyways, I'm going to keep it at 100. Entertainment, I definitely want to keep that at 100 because I want to make sure that I can do all the fun things I want to do. So, and that might even be low. Who knows? Pets, I'm going to move back down to 400 because I don't know about the salmon. And if we're going to switch him to half kibble that has salmon in it and half of the regular, the food that we make, we should be able to hit this number. I don't know. Clothes, I'm going to keep at 100 because I like to get the occasional new thing. Gifts, let's see, it's February, so it's Valentine's Day. No birthdays coming up either. So Valentine's Day, I usually like to give the kids a few dollars. I'll keep it at 100. If I'm under, that's fine. Again, if I was tight, like if this number down here would have been negative, then obviously I wouldn't have flexibility in my February budget at all because I would have spent it all and wouldn't have any flex. But I literally have $275 floating dollars So I'm not worried about that, because I feel like if I ran the same budget again, I'm going to be real close to even having excess next month too. So I'm cool with excess. I'm just not cool with not having enough. Let's just say that. So I'm going to keep my charity. I'm going to keep my gym. I'm going to keep my emergency fund. So the total of that's $3,952. So it sounds like in a decent month, I can live on Social Security as long as I don't have any major expenses like a new car or something major breaks, because I'm still running a positive $275. So hopefully this budget was helpful, and I will be posting a video of a tour of my RV soon, so hopefully you subscribe if that's something you want to see. And I'll see you guys next month for the update on February's budget. Have a wonderful day. Bye!